Chosen one, anchor your spirit and keep your attention here. That heaviness in your chest, that strange feeling that you were made for more than the life you have been forced to endure, do not dismiss it. Maybe the last 72 hours have left you unusually reflective. Perhaps you have been looking at your life, your family and your past, wondering why you have always felt different. Or maybe you woke up around 3 o'clock in the morning with a racing heart and a thought you could not explain. There is more to me than what people have told me. The enemy has been pressing against your identity for one reason. Your awareness is returning. He knows that once you remember your value, you will stop begging for permission to become who you were created to be. This confusion ends in this season. The self-doubt, the shrinking, the need to prove yourself, the false version of you that others imposed on you, these things are losing their authority. And they are not ending because of luck. They are ending because you survived what was meant to erase you. Think back to that moment this week when you stayed silent instead of explaining yourself. Maybe you walked away from an argument. Maybe you stopped chasing someone who kept making you feel insignificant. You thought you were losing your place, but that restraint was royal discipline. Your silence was not weakness. It was evidence that your identity was becoming stronger than your need for approval. You did not find this message by accident. The algorithm did not bring you here alone. Consider this a divine appointment, a moment of recognition arriving when your spirit is ready to receive it. In the next few minutes, you will receive a declaration over your identity, a spiritual audit of the beliefs that made you feel small, and a final decree to help you stop negotiating with the version of yourself that has already expired. Do not leave before the verdict. Your future self is waiting for you to stop reopening doors where you were never honored. The enemy has been whispering a specific lie. You are ordinary. You are too damaged. You missed your opportunity. He keeps replaying your rejection, your setbacks, and the times you were overlooked. But the truth is this: your worth was never granted by people, so people cannot revoke it. The royal bloodline is not a license to feel superior. It is a reminder of divine dignity, responsibility, courage, and service. You are not discovering that you are better than others. You are remembering that you were never less than who God created you to be. The heaviness is not punishment. It is the weight of an old identity breaking apart. You are not starting over. You are rising into recognition. Some messages don't just inform. They activate. If something stirred deep in your spirit just now, you may be ready to receive the Chosen One's blueprint. This sacred guide reveals the 8 divine patterns behind your calling, your suffering, and your destiny. It also comes with the full audiobook, so you can absorb it during prayer, rest, or quiet moments with God. And for those called to speak His truth, you'll also receive Activating Your Prophet Mantle, a powerful bonus ebook for those carrying a prophetic assignment. The link is in the first pinned comment, but only for a limited time. And now, let this truth settle deeper than emotion. Royal identity is not first revealed by what you possess. It is revealed by what you can no longer tolerate becoming. There are environments you used to survive in that now feel unbearable. Conversations that once entertained you now leave your spirit heavy. Compromises that once seemed small now feel like chains wrapped around your conscience. This is not always arrogance, and it is not necessarily a desire to think yourself better than anyone else. Sometimes it is awakening. Sometimes the discomfort is evidence that your spirit has outgrown the agreement that once kept you comfortable. When a person begins to remember who they are in God, everything that depended on their forgetfulness begins to lose its power. The old atmosphere may still look familiar, but it no longer feels like home. You can return to the same room and realize that the person who entered it before is no longer the person standing there now. The same words may be spoken, the same patterns may be offered, and yet something within you rises and says, I cannot return to that version of myself. The Lord is restoring your discernment, and discernment often begins as holy discomfort. You may have thought your isolation was punishment, but some of it was protection. You may have assumed people were rejecting you, when heaven was separating you from agreements that would have reduced your vision. Not every departure was a loss. Not every unanswered message was an insult. Not every closed invitation meant you were forgotten. Some doors had to close because you were still trying to carry people into a place where they had already decided not to go. Moses spent years in the wilderness before he stood before Pharaoh, not because his life had lost purpose, but because his identity had to be purified from the palace he had once known. He had to learn how to lead without needing the approval of the system he was sent to confront. In the palace, he had access, education, and position, but he had not yet learned the quiet language of dependence upon God. In the wilderness, the noise was stripped away. There were no crowds to impress and no title to hide behind. There was only the desert, the sheep, the burning bush, and the voice that called him by a name deeper than his failure. In the same way, you have been learning to carry authority without begging those around you to validate it. God may have taken you through a season where familiar applause disappeared so that you could discover whether your obedience could survive without an audience. You were not being buried. You were being rooted. A tree that will withstand strong winds must first grow roots in places no one can see. But here is where it goes deeper. You cannot walk in a royal identity while continuing to negotiate with every voice that questions your worth. There comes a moment when you must stop bringing your calling to people who are committed to misunderstanding it. This does not mean you become unreachable or cruel. It means you become rooted. You listen for wisdom, but you no longer surrender your inner witness to every opinion. You honor counsel, but you do not confuse criticism with correction. Correction draws you toward truth. Condemnation tries to drive you into shame. Wisdom may challenge you, but it will not require you to betray the identity God is forming within you. Learn the difference. Not every person who disagrees with you is an enemy, but not every person who speaks confidently is a counselor. Some voices are loud because they are familiar, not because they are right. Ask the Holy Spirit to teach you how to weigh words without allowing words to weigh down your soul. The enemy has often used familiar voices to make you suspicious of your own obedience. A person may know your history and still have no understanding of your destiny. They may remember the version of you that was wounded, confused, or desperate, and become uncomfortable when that version begins to disappear. They knew how to relate to your insecurity, but they do not know how to relate to your confidence. They benefited from your silence, so your voice feels like rebellion to them. Do not let someone's limited memory become the ceiling over your future. Joseph's brothers recognized his coat before they recognized his calling. They saw the symbol of his favor, but they could not discern the purpose hidden beneath it. Sometimes people will identify the evidence of your past more quickly than the authority of your becoming. They will say, "I remember when you were struggling," as though your former struggle has the right to define your entire life. But God is not limited by the last chapter people read. So begin here. Stop explaining every sacred movement. You do not need to announce every decision God is leading you to make. You do not need to defend every boundary. You do not need to convince everyone that your healing is real before you are allowed to heal. There is a difference between accountability and exposure. Some things must be prayed over before they are spoken about. Some seeds need darkness before they can break through the soil. A seed is not inactive simply because it is hidden. Beneath the surface, roots are forming, pressure is gathering, and life is preparing to rise. Your silence may be carrying more movement than your public announcements ever could. Do not dig up what God is still developing just because someone demands proof. Protect the sacred work. Let your fruit speak in the season appointed for it. And what is coming next may challenge you, because your royal identity will not only change how you see your future, it will change how you interpret your past. Stay with me, because the pain you thought disqualified you may be carrying evidence of the very strength.